Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Courtney Hendrickson, Economic Development Director for the town of Farmington, and a CEDAS member that was recruited to start this program, CEDAS Academy. Today's program is the second in our series. CEDAS Academy is a webinar series that we're going to intend to run every second month. We will invite CEDAS and prospective CEDAS members as our audience and local experts as our speakers. We already have quite a few topics and speakers lined up that we think will be compelling to our audience. We expect the program to run every other month, and it's really intended as an added member benefit education for our members, in addition to the quarterly meetings and the other programs. This webinar series will be held at 12:15 in the tradition of a lunch and learn, so that you all can sit at your desk or anywhere and spend about half an hour to 45 minutes learning about a relevant topic from a local expert. And what's nice about the GoToMeeting software is that you really can access the program anywhere that you can get computer or phone access. And I'd like to again thank CERC, who's providing the GoToMeeting technology and the facility for our speakers to broadcast from, as well as a lot of marketing support to get the word out about this program. Just a reminder that each CEDAS member that attends 3 or more Academy sessions annually will receive recognition at the annual meeting in December. For 2012, since we started the Academy in June, that number will only be 2. So if you attend 2 or more, then you will get formal recognition. The first CEDAS Academy session on Wednesday, the 27th of June, was a huge success. We had a great group of presenters talking about upcoming economic development programs taking place in Connecticut this summer and fall. To find out what you missed out on or to hear it again, please find a recording of that webinar session at our YouTube channel. And all you do is go on YouTube and you search for CEDAS Academy June 2012. And it takes about a minute to upload. Today's program is also going to be recorded and uploaded to YouTube for anyone who missed it. And so if you want to get the word out to anyone, or if you are just interested in seeing it again, you can do that after. And the date for the next session is Thursday, October 25th at 12:15. So mark your calendars, and the topic and more information will be publicized soon. Thanks again for all your support in kicking off this new member education program. As we go through today, if you have any questions or comments about the topic or the actual control panel, anything technologically, just type it into your box and we'll be able to respond. I'm getting one comment already that says I'm getting an echo or a duplicate voice. Is anyone else? So I'm going to ask if you are getting that to type that into the question or comment box. In the meantime, and Brian, if you're still getting it, also let us know. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get started because we do have quite a lengthy topic today. We will be hearing from Dimple Desai of OPM and John Simone of Connecticut Main Street Center about the upcoming Main Street Investment Fund grant opportunity. Recently passed legislation created the Main Street Investment Fund program, providing grants of up to $500,000 to eligible municipalities that have approved plans to develop or improve their town's commercial centers. And Dimple and John will get into many more specifics about that. The investment fund program is administered by the Office of Policy and Management through an application process. And Dimple and John will present a more detailed overview of the program and application, as well as having a question and answer at the very end. Again, if you have any questions as we go, just type them in on the chat section of your control panel, and we will try to address them either as we go or at the end. Thanks again, and I'm going to now turn it over to Dimple Desai.
Good afternoon, all. Thanks for joining us on the webinar on the program that we are going to discuss today. That's the Main Street Investment Fund. This program was enacted in 2011, and 3 months ago, the Bond Commission approved $5 million for this program. And what we have done so far is conduct numerous seminars on the program to provide information to municipalities who are eligible. And what I'll do today is just go over what the role of OPM is and what the role of Connecticut Main Street is, and we'll also be discussing the application itself. OPM's role, we are managing this program. We'll be reviewing the applications once they receive, making decision, and dispersing the funding. What we also have done is retain the services of Connecticut Main Street Center, John Shimon and his group, to provide technical assistance to to municipalities, because we understand municipalities don't have funds available to hire consultants and follow through on the application. So feel free to contact John and his group. We also have our website. If you go, can you go on? What we are going to show you now is the website where you can get all the information related to this program, and that is the ctmainstreet.org. And if you go down at the bottom, you will find the informational workshop presentation, frequently asked questions, sample plans. So we have a lot of information out there that's going to help you out regarding this program. And if you go to the link that you're going to click now, that goes to OPM website, and right there you will find the application at the bottom and program fact sheets. So hopefully you can access this information, and you'll find a lot of information on there. And what we are, what we'll do is keep, if you go to FAQs, we have put in about 20-30 questions on, on the FAQ that we have been receiving so far, and it will help you address a lot of your questions as well. Again, I'll go back to the presentation now. Because of the time limitation, I'm not going to discuss all the details, because you can see all the information on the presentation. As I said, the eligibility for municipality is any municipality that has less than 30,000 people. Steep eligible municipalities can apply for the funds. The maximum limit is $500,000. Eligible project is that has the activities that are part of an approved plan by the governing body. And this is one of the requirements that is required by the statute. Now, I know majority of the towns, small towns, are familiar with the STEEP, the Small Town Economic Assistance Program. This is very much different from that program. Main Street Investment Fund requires a plan, and which has to be approved by the governing body of the municipality. Without that plan, municipalities are not eligible for the funding. So that's the big distinction between STEEP and Main Street Investment Fund. Eligible activities, they are like structural exterior building improvements, signage, lighting, landscaping, and again, all this information is available on our website as well. Project criteria, it's project to develop or improve town commercial centers to attract small businesses, promote commercial viability, and improve aesthetics and pedestrian access. So again, bringing back STEEP and contrasting this program, for STEEP, you can ask for sidewalks, building improvements, facade improvements, improvements to anything you feel that has been deteriorating and things like that. Similar type of activities are eligible, but there has to be a plan, and the plan has to address the economic viability and how it's going to improve commercial viability and create jobs and economic environment for the community. Private entities are also eligible under this program, and again, the details are provided, in the presentation. Now, what I'm going to do is turn it over to John, who will be discussing more about the plans, and then we'll discuss application later.
Thank you, Dimple. Good afternoon, everyone. Just so you know, this is my first ever webinar, so I'm very excited about this. I'm going to skip over some of the slides because of time, but you have the ability to look at all this on our website, and on our website it also includes very descriptive remarks, so you can. It's very helpful to go back to. But one thing that I would make a note for you on is I would highly recommend you look at the Main Street Investment Fund program fact sheet that's on the OPM website, which we pointed out to you before, where it talks about the definition of a plan. And while on page 2 you'll see definitions, what we want to make sure people realize is we're trying to be as flexible as possible about what could constitute a plan. There's no one prescribed way. I think the key parts are, I'll talk a little bit later about what the elements of a plan are, but I think probably the most important thing is that, you know, it not only has it been approved by the governing body, but it's also something that's involved the municipality. And I'm going to talk about some examples of plans and projects in the next few minutes that gives you an idea of what I think are good ways to consider moving forward with this. The other thing is there's a definition of what a town center is, and while this definition is somewhat broad, we really mean it to be very flexible. Everything from a intense urban downtown like a Hartford or a Bridgeport to someplace out in the middle of the northwest or northeast corners of the state where it's just a small village center. So it can be a variety of places, and quite frankly, it can even, I've been using this just because I know that Ray Carpentino from Rocky Hill, I talked to him about it. He's their economic development director. You know, they have the Silestein Highway, which really is not a town center or a village center at all, but they're working on trying to turn that into a walkable mixed-use place. So if that's part of the plan, that could also even be eligible. So it's pretty broad. If you go to the next page, I'm going to show you how things are. Yeah, how the Simsbury Town Center plan. I think it's a really good example of, you know, involving the community, involving the public-private partnership. I mean, one of the takeaways I'd like you to have from this today is that to really do a good and ongoing an effective downtown revitalization program, it really needs to happen over time, be comprehensive, and have some sort of management behind it. It doesn't have to be a classic Main Street program like we have on our membership, or it doesn't have to be a special service district or business improvement district. It could just be a partnership of you know, good municipal officials and good local private sector folks, whether they be property owners or businesses, but that there is some group of people working together representing the stakeholders. Simsbury, for many of you who know Simsbury, they have a well-deserved reputation of being kind of NIMBYs when it comes to any kind of development. Yet it was those folks, coupled with a lot of other people, who came together around a charrette where they brought in outside consultants, experts in planning, urban design, historic preservation, transportation, and market analysis professionals to really talk about their town center and how they could really develop that more. If you were to fly over Simsbury's town center in a helicopter, while it looks from the street like this classic New England village, it's really a series of strip developments. So it's not at all a classic town walkable center. The goal is they wanted to turn it into that, and they had, through the partnership of their Main Street program, which is called the Simsbury Main Street Partnership, their municipal staff, especially led by Hiram Peck, their planner, the chamber, and many other groups. They held a week-long charrette that involved over 500 people who really got to and present their ideas on what the center should be. And if we move forward through the thing, one more, you'll see in a minute, this is going to morph, and you're going to see how the Simsbury Town Center, the back of the center, is all this open space that's just ripe for redevelopment. And here's a picture of it coming on board now. That's Iron Horse Boulevard. That's what it looks like today. And this is through the presentation and through the work that was done by citizens. You'll see, watch this morph into what it could be, a vision of the future, you know, which is, you know, still a classic New England town center, but much more dense. And actually, I was at the final presentation when the consultants were presenting these slides, among others, and there's 500 people in the room, 400 actually, and they all stood up, including all these NIMBYs, and gave the presenter a standing ovation because they just loved this vision. And now Simsbury's taken that vision and they've moved forward with and they've created a form-based zoning to support that in design guidelines, so that developers know exactly what's expected of them. and are making it very easy for folks to come in. So I think that's a really excellent example of how to go about that and really involve all the right people. I'm going to skip over Norwalk and go to the town of Putnam, small town in the northwest corner. And thank you. They've done it in a very well, in a sort of planned phases. They started with just looking at their downtown parking and a build-out analysis. You know, if they want to grow, how could they grow? How do they want to grow? They realized while they were a strong commercial center, a lot of antiques and restaurants, they had no housing in the downtown, and that's something they wanted to add. They learned from this first analysis that they really had pretty adequate parking for and could take growth on without having to worry about that. They then formed a group, and this was really headed by Delpha Very, who's their Director of Economic and Community Development, I think is her title. So she's a municipal employee. But she really spearheaded bringing together merchants, property owners, plan and zoning officials, and town staff and elected officials to really develop a vision for and an action plan and a regulatory plan for where they wanted to go. So not unlike Simsbury Main Street, but in a very much more sort of down home on the grassroots level. They came up with their own version of a plan. If you go to the next page, you'll see the copy of the title page that shows you the the kind of things that were developed in the plan. And what's great about this plan, it also includes not only action items, but the names of the people whose job it will be to actually do these, so that we're not going to just sit on shelves saying these are nice ideas, but who's going to do it? And and out of that came a lot of goals, and they're now moving forward to try to create a downtown improvement authority. Again, that managed program. And then if you go to the next slide, it shows a little bit of the components of a town center plan. I'm not going to go through that. I think they're pretty self-explanatory. But then I'd like to move on to actually you can go on from there to the downtown Winstead facade. Because this is part of the program here. This Main Street Investment Fund is to do facade. One more. Thank you. Here you'll see, I think this is going to morph. This is what the IGA looked like, and after their facade program, I think that's going to morph into what it is now. And what they discovered underneath all that aluminum paneling was this Art Deco building that was beautiful and was pretty intact. And so they really just sort of went back to where it was. One thing we learned in this process, you see how all the windows are painted over, and we said, well, come on, why can't you open those up? That would be really nice. Well, what we learned from the store owner, all of his freezer equipment is behind those windows. It would cost him $100,000 to relocate those. So you can't always do everything you want. There's other considerations, but that still has generated a lot of foot traffic and a lot of interest. This was an incredible partnership. The Council of Elected Officials developed the program in conjunction with DECD. The Litchfield Hills Economic Development Partnership and Chamber coordinated the technical assistance for this. The town of Winstead created a town Winstead Facade Improvement Committee that worked on developing the guidelines for the program and the application schedule. The Friends of Main Street, their Main Street program, was very much involved with this. In fact, their executive director, I would say she single-handedly went around and held the hands of the property owners to convince them, because they had to put up 50% of the money. This wasn't a 100% grant to do this. And she actually got a grant to bring in a designer to do drawings of what the buildings could look like with the facade money. And that's what really inspired what was pretty amazing return in terms of response to this program. There was 30 in 3 years. They had 30 facade programs take place, and over $1 million was leveraged with this improvement program. So again, you had a lot of partners involved, and if you're going to do a facade thing, it's going to take a lot of work with what's going on. Looks like I can keep talking even though the PowerPoint crashed, and I'll paint really good pictures with words. The next one I wanted to talk about was New London. For those of you who might be familiar with downtown New London, there's a place a big sort of tall statue, like a small Washington Monument kind of shape, just as you leave the train station area and start walking up State Street. It's called the Parade area. That public space in the 1960s, in a fit of urban renewal, was, we think we may have it back up. So It's probably about the 19th slide. Keep going. Oh.
You can just go on the website.
Anyway, yeah, if we go on our website, we can do that. Back to the Connecticut Main Street Center's website. Yeah.
Informational workshop.
Presentation. Yep. Yep. Wonderful. Nice to have choices. Then go down to about 19, I believe. See if that. Keep going down. Can you do page down? There you go. All right. That's an example. There's what the public space used to look like in 100 years ago. And you can see, if you're standing up State Street in the very first top left corner, you got this great view and welcoming look into the river. If you go right to the right corner, bottom one, that's the opposite view. If you were standing by the river with your back to the river, you're looking up State Street. But you can see it all was this wonderful open space that connected. Now, if you go to the next slide, we don't have a slide of what we missed one. Go back to 20. Well, that's it. That's it. That's what it turned into. Now you're looking from the water up State Street. It's all blocked out by this mound. Don't ask me why that was done, but it just turned this into a derelict place that no one came to. In fact, it was a place where homeless folks would sleep. It just didn't work. And through a coalition between the New London Landmarks Historical Society, the Main Street program in London, and the municipal staff, they were able to transfer funds for another project that didn't happen and turn this into, if you go to the next slide, and turn this back into a space that was meant to be really a public space. And you can see, by the way, one thing I learned when you ask designers and architects for slides, they're the last people you should ask for slides if you want to show a vibrant public space, because they don't let any people be in the slides. They only want to show their work. Believe me, these are not barren spaces anymore. The amount of programming that's going on here is unbelievable. There's musical events almost every week. There's farmers markets. There was an ice skating rink for a few months in the wintertime. So it's really become an incredible public space. And again, this was a collaboration between a number of entities to be able to make this happen, involve it in the public. And this is an example of when you're creating a public space, it's not enough to just make it. You got to manage it. How do you program it? How do you, get people to come there? And that's what's happening in the Main Street program is taking that on in their case. Also, if you keep going down, actually go back up one, I'm sorry. On the bottom right of there, you'll see that it's a whale's tail, which is actually a fountain, which is kind of a really great summertime thing, that added attraction, which of course kids love to play in. And that's just a picture of all the volunteers. Every year, New London Main Street takes a picture of all their volunteers, and that's on the parade where we were just looking. And they just do that to sort of, to show the force of the people they have working on downtown, which is pretty impressive. But that's what it takes. They say how it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to revitalize the downtown. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Dimple, who's going to talk a little bit more about the application. Yeah, that was the right. You were up one. Yeah, go to the application. Yeah. So back to the website.
No, one go to CityGov OPM. Yep. And
Second one.
yep. So you can go. Yeah, just. What I'm going to talk about now, just let I'll make you go through the application itself. So when you're filling it out, it's easier. So when this program was enacted and funding was awarded, they they put this program on my lap and said, manage it. So what do I do? First thing as a bureaucrat, I wanted to make sure that I make your life miserable. So what I did is create an application, but I was cognizant about not asking too much in the application. So I tried to keep it simple. The application has two parts. There is instructions and the application itself, the form itself, and the instructions follow the form. So, if you're looking at the overview of the program, that's it.
Go to view full screen. Up left corner. See if you hit view. See if you hit, there's no full screen. It doesn't allow you. Try normal.
I mean, is it difficult to see the screen? If you can just type in and yeah. So if you look at the instructions, you will see there is an overview of the program, all that. How about now? Can you see the screen? Okay. And again, like if you have website, you can just click on OPM and then you'll be able to get to the screen. All right. So it looks like now we have resolved the problem. All right. If you look at the application form, section 1, it's simple, applicant information. You just provide your information, local approvals. Again, this is the approval required for submitting an application. So what you have to do is submit a resolution from the legislative body, which is different from the governing body, that is going to approve your plan. So what we need is an approval from the legislative body to submit an application, and also authorize an individual who will be signing off on the application, reimbursements, and all that kind of stuff. Private property owner information, again, if you are going to request funding for a private property owner for facade improvements or things like that, you fill out that information. Project information, basically this is your plan, and how this is going, how your overall plan is going to improve on your downtown. And this plan could be your town commercial center plan or your C&D plan. If the C&D plan has detailed information about the downtown plan, it's okay. But if there is just a paragraph in your C&D plan, then probably that would not be a eligible plan. Project plan. What is the difference between project information and project plan? Project plan is what your actual project is. So you may have a plan that has 2 or 3 phases of, 2 or 3 phases. And if you are planning to do phase 1, that would be a project plan. And this is where you are going to list use of the, use of funds, the activities that you are going to conduct, and things like that. It will also have like a schedule, timeline, how you're going to use the funds and what activities are going to be performed, when, and things like that. And at the end, there is a budget. There is a sample that we have provided you on the budget that shows, you list the eligible expenditures, town share, state share, other sources of funds, and things like that. So, again, this is like a pretty straightforward budget and application. If you guys have any questions on, the application itself, Oh, there is one question. Is this application available in a fillable PDF format? This is fillable form. So it's a Word document. So you can fill it and you can save it. And what I tell people is if you need more space, you can always say see attached, and in your attachment just provide which section you are answering to, and that is okay. I think if you look at the checklist, is pretty straightforward. It's a legislative body, certified statement, project location, cost estimates, and things like that. We have also provided a resolution of legislative body. Question has come up before whether whether we have to attach the application itself to the resolution. And what I've said is, if you have the application already ready to go, you can attach it. If not, the intent is to provide a summary of the application. So you will say that the town is applying for such and such and seeking $500,000. There is no local match, for this project, and just provide basic information so that people attending your meetings know what the application is all about. So you can do that as well. We have another question: is there a deadline for application? And there is a deadline. It's September 28th, 2012 by 4:30. So that is the deadline for the application. Again, if you go to our FAQs, you will find numerous questions and answers that will help you in preparing this application. One of the questions that comes up is, what are the type of activities that are eligible? So, the example I give is if you have a sidewalk that is falling apart and you say, I need to repair sidewalks and we are seeking, $250,000. Application like that by itself probably will not be eligible, because if there is no overall plan as to how these improvements is going to lead to economic development, probably that will not be an eligible expense. So again, there has to be a overall plan that addresses certain activities. Some of the other questions that comes up is, let's see. Okay. Oh yeah. When will the grant awards be announced? And again, I tell people this will all depend on the number of applications that we are going to receive. The goal is to announce all grant awards in time to start the grants in the next construction season in the spring of 2013. So there is a question about total not to exceed $500,000, including the amount to be reimbursed to private owners if involved. Yes. So the maximum amount a municipality can ask is $500,000, and so that would be including reimbursement to private owners. Now there were questions, can more than one private owner apply? And the answer is yes. You can apply for more than one property owners that may, and you may be seeking $400,000 for that. But again, you have to remember there has to be a plan that is approved by the governing body, and that describes how these property owners are included in the plan.
Can I interrupt for
Yep.
just a second? I just realized we're not going to have time to do this today, but if you're seriously thinking of applying, I would read through very carefully all the frequently asked questions. All of those came, we did 4 workshops throughout the state in person, and almost all those questions came from folks like yourselves, and they were good questions. So I think that would be very informative if you really seriously want to apply. But again, Dimple and I are here to help you as well, so the contact information is out there.
One of the other questions that always comes up is, if what if, what kind of facade improvement, activities are eligible? So the answer is, like, if somebody is doing renovation to a building and they are supposed to, usually put either vinyl siding or whatever it might be. Now they come in and say, well, can you pay for my vinyl siding? And, the answer would be no, because, you are supposed to put vinyl siding there anyways, when you are renovating your building. But if as part of a design standard that municipality has, and it requires that, if you put a brick facade, you don't have to do it, but if it says, brick facade is recommended, and if you do that, then probably the difference between the the facade that is allowed versus what you are upgrading to would be eligible. There's another question that comes up: are soft costs such as consultants, design, engineering fees eligible? And the answer is no. Therefore, any design and engineering work must be paid with other funds or be in kind. And that's why I said in the beginning we have retained services of Connecticut Main Street Center to provide you with that kind of services. However, Connecticut Main Street Center is not going to provide services such as design and engineering. They're not retained to provide that kind of services. They can help you out with the plans, like, with this plan, how about this plan? Can you help me out with, certain activities that we want to do? And they can give you some insight to that. So again, there is a difference between what kind of services they can provide. Anything else? Yeah. I'd like to open up, for any questions that you may have. The question came up is there a match involved? No, there is no match involved or required by the statute. However, again, if we receive a lot of applications and if we have to make tough decisions, I think one of the criteria might be, what is the contribution from the municipality. So, we may look at that. And again, if you look at the program fact sheet, it has certain criteria that we'll be looking at on page 3, section 2, which says project criteria. The first one is local and regional support, so that's where you will see what is the commitment from the locals and regional authorities. B is leverages other funding. Again, other sources of funds involved, like municipal, non-governmental, or private, or any other. Economic and market viability. Again, this is your plan will show how this is economically viable and how it's going to help to address your economic issues. Yep.
Regarding this is John Simone again from the Connecticut Main Street Center. Just to add to what Dimple said about our involvement. Indeed, we're not going to do the soft costs for you, but what we'll do is provide you advice all along the way, as best we can with our knowledge of downtown in terms of what would make good projects that integrate well, what would make good plans as well as good projects in the plan, and do our best. While there's no guarantee our advice is going to get OPM to say yes to your application, our goal is to prepare your application as best you possibly can, help you with that. And then if you're accepted, we hope to be around as well to continue to work, provide advice through the process of actually doing that. It's something we do already with a program we have called Preservation of Place. So it's similar to that. But that's the kind of advice and we'll be providing. And you should always feel free to call, and we'll do what we can to help.
All right. So again, going back to the project criteria, if you look at number 4, which is timeline to implementation, and again, depending on how many applications we get, all these criteria will come into play in deciding which applications we are going to fund and how much. The last is supportive of state C&D plan. When any state funding is provided, the projects have to be consistent with state conservation and development plan, which municipalities are all aware of, and they have the local POCD, and the one that we are talking about is the state CND plan compliance. So again, these are some of the project requirements that we have. Any other questions that you guys may have? Anything you think the current that we should discuss on? Yeah, one question comes up is, can the project happen in a? All right, one question that came up right now is, are there additional funding rounds anticipated? And I believe, answer is yes, but we don't know when, because Bond Commission has to approve the funding. When this statute was enacted, the legislature authorized approval of bonds for $10 million for next 2 fiscal years. So we already have received $5 million. So we will be looking at the next $5 million, but we don't know when that would be available. It will all depend on when the Bond Commission approves the next funding. And again, the question that I'm reading from FAQ is, can the project happen in state right away? And because the statute says that, property owned by municipality, we understand that, if you have a main street, if you have a main drag of your, downtown, probably that would, if it falls under state right away, and if you are planning to do improvements within those right away, that is okay and that is eligible. However, we strongly encourage that you talk to whoever has the right of way to make sure that they don't have any other plans in next year or 2 or 5 years to undo what you just did. So I think coordination with other state agencies is very important if you see that there is a right of way involved and some other state agency has the right of way. This is the question that we get, will project be subject to a review under SEPA? And the answer is generally not. However, it depends on the proposed project, and the determination for SEPA applicability will be made on a case-by-case basis. So it is highly recommended that if the building proposed for facade improvements is historic, that the applicant follow up with the SHPO, State Historical Preservation Office. It is also recommended that the applicant secure appropriate permits from state and or federal agencies. Another question came up from the audience is, if you don't already have a plan in place, it would seem difficult to have a plan adopted within the time frame figures provided. Yeah, when I think we put out the application in July, I think, right? And this deadline was determined based on the question that you just raised. We knew that you can't just go to approval of a project within a month. So that's why we extended till September 28th, and I think so it was July, August, September, 3 months were provided right from beginning. And the other good thing about this program is that the plan that you have to approve doesn't have to go to the governing body, to the legislative body, which may meet in a month or twice a month or whatever. It is to be approved by the governing body. So depending on what your charter says, who is the governing body, you can probably go to your P&Z and they can approve the plan, which meets probably on a regular basis. So again, you have to look at your charter and see how they define the governing body, and you can have them approve your project.
I think the other issue is that hopefully there's going to be the second round, and you could be working on your plan now in preparation for that second round. I mean, again, the bonding commission must approve that, but hopefully that will happen since it's been approved by the state legislature.
And again, the intention is not to just spend all the monies that we have. So, if we receive projects that are not eligible, probably they will not be funded. So, I would encourage that you just continue working on your plan and have it approved. And, call Connecticut Main Street. They can help you with the technical assistance, provide you guidance. So as John said, if there is a round, or if we don't use all 5 million this round, we will be opening up again, to spend the remaining funds. So I think this is going to be continued until we exhaust all $5 million. And if we get the new funding, then we'll start again.
This is the last call for any questions that you want to come in. There's been a lot of good questions, and I'm going to give you about 30 seconds here to ask any final questions. Of course, you can always contact Dimple and John directly with anything after the fact. I'm just going to say thank you so much to John and Dimple for all the valuable information. This was a great session. I really appreciate your attendance. And again, if you have any questions, now or never on the webinar, but certainly they're available. Dimple Desai's information is right there on the application and on the website, and John's is on the Connecticut Main Street Center website as well. If you have any other questions about the webinar series, the CEDAS Academy, or the GoToWebinar technology, feel free to contact me, Courtney Hendrickson, at the Town of Farmington. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.